2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Alix Steel. We're counting you down to the closing bell. You're here to take us beyond the bell. It's a global simulcast. We're joined today by Massar and Tim Stenovec as we welcome our audiences across our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, and our partnership. Yeah, that is right, Massar. Our partnership with YouTube here on the final trading day of the week.
So much for sell in May and go away, right? Look at this. First of all, we're having buying going into the weekend here. So we're going to finish, looks like, at our best level on the S&P 500. But I'm looking at gains in the month of May for the S&P, more than 4.6%. The NASDAQ 100 up about 6%. Even the small caps up about 4.8%. So we have seen investors in a big way come back into the equity trade.
Still, though, seeing some mega cap tech stocks dragging down the index in the S&P 500. Amazon, Nvidia, Broadcom, Microsoft, Netflix, Tesla, all weighing on the index, even though it's higher now, Alex.
All right, this is all really cool and fun, but Petco is ringing the closing bell on the NASDAQ, and they're puppies.
Oh,
they're puppies.
Yes.
Do you guys see the puppies?
No.
I'm sorry.
Not yet.
Like,
we'll see them soon.
do we care about anything else but the puppies?
No.
They're so cute. How can you not be in a good mood? Anyway, stocks off their lows.
So
NASDAQ
the marketing
almost flat
decision,
for the day.
you're saying the marketing decision worked on you?
Oh my
for
God.
them to bring puppies.
I mean, yes, come on, you bring puppies?
Is that why people are buying into the close?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Why not?
Yeah.
But buy into the weekend because they're puppies at the NASDAQ.
All right, we talk about sort of what went on the day and more importantly for the entire month here as we close it out here. A relatively tepid day, but I think as Carol was referencing here, we were in the red pretty much across the board for almost the entirety of the session. But as we get these closing bells, you hear them in New York. One of those bells, at least on the NASDAQ, being rung apparently by puppies. We should point out that stocks now moving into the green to end out the day, the week, and the month. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up about 1.5% here on the day. For the month, that's going to be good enough for a gain of more than 2%. The S&P 500 up 0.8%. That's a 5% gain for the month. The NASDAQ composite, we'll just call it unchanged on the now. It's going to be down basically about 2 points, so in the red on the day. But for the month, it is nursing a gain of about 7%. And the Russell 2000 also in on the action on the day here, of 0.6% gain here on the day and a 5% gain on the month.
Maybe they have some thoughts on the dogs of the Dow. You know, maybe we need to reach out to them and just ask them about that.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. Kind of lame. All right, S&P 500, folks. Most names in the index definitely higher today. 427 to the upside, 75 to the downside, and Alex, one unchanged.
I mean, really, let's take a look at the IMAP here within the S&P. Information technology now totally flat here on the day. Really impressive. Just in that last half hour, how we really made up some of those losses. But energy is the best performing sector within the S&P, despite some waffly prices within oil. But then you have real estate, and then you have utilities, and that's really the bond story. As yields move lower in the bond market, those sectors become more attractive.
All right, let's get to some of the individual gainers. Gap among the gainers in today's session, folks, pretty much finishing at its best levels of the day, just shy of a 29% gain. Eye-popping earnings report that showed the overhaul by the company's CEO, relatively new, Richard Dixon, known to the Mattel universe, who really helped revitalize the Barbie brand at Mattel. Well, he seems to be revitalizing Gap in a big way, really kind of embracing celebrity marketing. We had Anne Hathaway wearing a Gap dress to a red carpet event. We had folks at the Met Gala wearing Gap items. So anyway, you see investors certainly liking their results. Caesars also popping in today's session, off its highs, up almost 18% at its highs today, but finishing with a gain of about 11.6%. Bloomberg exclusively reporting, that Carl Icahn has amassed a sizable stake in Caesars, according to people familiar. The size and Icahn's intentions not completely known. I think he also talked to CNBC maybe a little bit about this. So anyway, this stock definitely popping in today's session. Zscaler, we've been worried about some of the software space. Well, this is a company that plays into the cybersecurity world. This one surging about 8.5% in today's session. This after the company did beat estimates. It also raised its full year forecast. Demand for its platform grows. And as we head into the weekend, a little bit of beer news. Sam Adams, Boston Beer in talks for a possible sale to Suntory. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. So this name did surge to a record, at least intraday, finishing on this Friday with a 22% gain.
All right, some gainers. I got some decliners. Dell, we got to start with Dell, falling 18%. It actually fell the most since its return to the public markets back in 2018. We covered the numbers yesterday and the stock reaction as well. The first revenue increase since 2022 was not enough to impress investors. Those investors had really high expectations for the company's AI server business. For example, the backlog for Dell's AI servers, these are the ones that are powerful enough to equip or to handle artificial intelligence, increased more than 30% quarter over quarter, but investors wanted to see a bigger backlog. Shares of Moderna falling by 5.9% today. They fell after the FDA approved the company's RSV vaccine for adults aged 60 and older. Here's why, though. Analysts came out and said that data in the FDA's label for the vaccine highlights a weaker effectiveness compared to its peers. So despite the FDA approval, the shares fell. MongoDB shares under pressure since reporting earnings yesterday. Shares falling today by 24%. The shares fell as much as 27% earlier in the session. Had it closed there, it would have been its biggest fall ever. Shares did close off their lows, so just the worst day going back to September of 2022. The software company cut its full year forecast. It's just the latest in a series of disappointing results from software companies. Think about what we saw from Salesforce yesterday. Last week, Workday saw its biggest sell-off since 2016. And also worth checking in on DJT, Trump Media and Technology. The shares were all over the place today. They did close lower by more than 5%, but they did swing between gains and losses. This after a New York jury found the former president guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records. But the share movement wasn't clear in terms of what investors were thinking, because it was higher, then it was lower, then it was higher, then it was lower.
That is a pretty accurate response.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Let's go to the bond market for a second, because we did see a bid. The 2- and 5-year hit a session lows at this month-end close. It was really the belly that got the outperformance. But interestingly enough, a 10-year yield for the whole month at one point was down 37 basis points. It ended about 17 basis points was the most that it moved this month. But it just shows that the selling that we have expected doesn't always materialize. We definitely see a strong bid around. We were talking to somebody earlier about the fact that when you have an auction, you tend to buy after. And we definitely wind up seeing that kind of volatility and that whippiness in the bond market, guys.
All right. So as we get ready for the weekend, we're thinking a little bit about the Olympics that are coming up in Paris this summer. And on that, for the first time, they're going to actually have a beer sponsor for the Olympic Games. We're talking about Anheuser-Busch, and already bottles are rolling off their production lines in Belgium for the upcoming games. And what's interesting is these are non-alcoholic beers.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this for a few years because we've had the founders of Athletic Brewing on the show, and they're actually quoted in this story. But the rise in non-alcoholic beers has been pretty huge over the last few years. It still is tiny in comparison to beers that contain alcohol, but you'll notice that the marketing for non-alcoholic beers is so much different than it was just a few years ago. And indeed, more and more people are buying them. And it's also available at more and more restaurants now, whereas just a few years ago, you couldn't find this stuff anywhere.
Tim knows so much about this.
It's what I drink.
That's what he drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really drink that much anymore either. Ever since I had long COVID a few years ago, and I do a lot of mocktails and stuff at restaurants. And man, those mocktails are like $20. First of all, they're good, yes, but they're like the same price as a regular cocktail, which is the same thing as like a non-alcoholic beer. And you're like, wait, why am I paying $20 for non-alcoholic beer?
Yeah, it does add up still, but it's nice to actually be able to drink something,
You know what you don't want to drink?
What do you not want to drink?
The Seine.
Oh yeah, good.
Oh,
good
you
segue.
you don't even want to swim in it, actually. So this is a great story that came, well, not for if you're an Olympic swimmer, but apparently the Seine is not ready yet for the Olympics. Its levels of E. coli is basically too much, and that basically is a sewage situation. Yeah, so you've had officials spend, over €1 billion, I think, on the sewage issues, and it hasn't worked.
Well, don't worry. They still got, like 6 weeks to get it all together. So I don't know how long it takes to clean up a river, but I mean, this was something I remember they talked about during the trials here, and it'll get to the point where, I don't know, either we're going to swim in a dirty river, or I guess we're going to swim in a vat of whatever the heck Tim likes to drink. I'm just a little confused, Tim, but you kind of threw me for a loop there.
Okay.
I mean, we all know you're the healthiest person on this network, or at least on this show right now. What's the appeal? I mean, if there's no alcohol to give you like a buzz or get drunk.
That's a good question.
Then, you just like the taste?
A couple things. Yeah, I do like the taste of an IPA, and there's one company that makes an IPA that kind of tastes like I like the taste of beer. I like drinking a beer. I just don't like the way it makes me feel when I drink a beer. Yeah, you can, you're out with friends on a hot summer day. It's nice to be able to drink something that's not water, but also, not going to make me feel a little loopy.
Okay, I don't. That doesn't compute with me for sure.
You're going to Paris, you better drink wine. I'm just going to say.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to Paris and not drinking wine? No, you can't do that. That's just sad.
And then
no,
if you
sorry.
drink wine, you might jump in the Seine. Like maybe. I don't know. Or
Don't
maybe
do that.
not. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Have a good and safe weekend. Enjoy it. It's supposed to be, I think, a gorgeous one. That is our cross-platform coverage, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We call it Beyond the Bell. We'll see you on Monday.